So welcome back, everybody, to part 2. Really glad you're with us. I hope you found part 1 valuable and you get a lot more out of part 2 today. Again, we're going to just introduce ourselves. So I'm Robin from the customer success team. I hope you know me from round 1 or from just, interacting with you on the site. I also have with me my colleague, Rebecca, who go ahead, please say hi for yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining.
And so today we're going to focus on part 2. So part 1, we just made sure you knew how to get yourselves set up and how to send a proposal. And we even looked at what happens after you send a proposal, those steps. Today, we want to focus on what happens then once you have an agreement. I want you to feel comfortable knowing how everything inside the agreement works, all about invoicing, how you get paid, how you can integrate, right? All of that stuff we're going to cover. And I also want to make sure you feel comfortable with your contract management. So our agreements are amendable, and I want you to know how you could do that, what kind of changes you can make, what kind of charges you can add if it's not part of your agreement. We're going to cover all of that today and also take a look from your client's perspective of what their client portal looks like. I'll stop sharing this and I'm going to share my demo account and get ourselves started. Okay, great. Okay, so just as a quick reminder from last time, we did everything that led up to and actually passed sending out a proposal. We talked about how in the agreements pipeline here, you can see all of the different statuses. And if you went to the proposal page, you can understand where things stand and what kind of actions you can take to get your client to finish signing if they haven't, and all the things you can do. Once we get to this point, we want to look at the agreements themselves. So that's where we're going to start today. Excuse me. Once you have signed agreements, they're all going to live here on the agreements page. You will see them all listed by the name of the account. That's what you're seeing here. When you give a title to the agreement, that's what you're seeing below it. This is if you ask for accountant access, if you ask to be able to access your client's account so you can update or change their pay or add their payment method. And this is how you'll be able to go into your client's portal. We're going to look at that shortly. And you can see the status. So this is an active account. You see the effective date of the agreement. If there is a payment method connected, you can see whether it's a bank account or a credit card. I can click right on this and filter by all of the different things. So you could see here, for example, there are 3 accounts that have not yet been set. And if you notice, when I hover over them, this request payment method button pops up. So if you're not going to be adding the payment method on behalf of your client using the client portal here, our accountant access, you can request that your client do it. You click this button, we'll send them an email and they will get the request to come into the site and add their payment method. Just a fun little thing for you to note. You can see when they were billed. And of course, there are all of these different actions you can take here. We'll explain those in just a second. And I also want to show you that we have these really great filters up here. So if you want to see all sorts of different things from within the agreement, I definitely recommend taking a look at our different filter options. So for example, if you want to find things by effective date, the last time you billed, what kind of payment method they have, easy, you can just use the filter here. But this is cooler. This is kind of going to go inside and look at all of the differences. So for example, billing trigger. If you want to find, if you've set up manual services, that means that you have to come in and bill it. You can do a search for all of the agreements that have a manual service, and we'll give you a list of all of them. So you can come in and find which ones you actually need to bill by that list. You just click apply and it'll work that way. Or let's close this one and look for another one. You can also look at automatic services state. So if you've paused a service, for example, and you want to come in and activate it, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a moment. You can come in and say, show me all of my agreements that have paused services because I want to make sure everything is active. Or I know there was an account, I wanted to activate one of their services. So you can use these filters and kind of play around to see all of the different things that you can do. And I highly recommend it because it's really super helpful. Another one I'm going to point out just because it's, I think, my favorite. You can search by service name. So if you want to find all of the accounts you have that have a particular service, let's say you want to go and make changes to that service and you want to edit their agreement, you can find all of them that have that service and filter that way. So I want to make sure to point that out. And one more thing, if, for example, you have 3 accounts here that you need a request payment method, assume you had 50 that you had to do that for, and you don't want to sit and click that button every time. Note that we have a bulk actions and you can request payment method from all of the ones that you select. And I'd also like to remind you, let me clear that up, that we have this import option. We talked about it the first time. If you have a whole bunch of agreements, you want to add 30 or more, we can help you do that really quickly. We will create the drafts for you. Just complete the form and you could do it that way. Okay, let's take a look inside an agreement. You can click inside. And now this is basically when you set up the proposal, all of the details are kind of found right here in the agreement. You have the signature. There's Rebecca. Rebecca sent this one. You have a list of all of the services and the details are all here. You have anything that's stopped or completed. So if, let's say you had a one-time service that was billed on like right on agreement, right when they sign it, you can see that over here. Look, the service is completed. It's a one-time. We're not charging it anymore. You also have the option to stop a service whenever you want, which we're going to look at together. Anything that stops or completed would be listed down here. So it's always, all the history is still available for both of you. Terms and conditions right here. And then you have all of the additional information, anything you need to see. Now, I'll point out that there are 5 tabs up here. Both you and your client have 5 tabs. There are just slight differences between them, and I'll make sure to touch on that. On the agreements page here, all of this information is available to both of you, but you have stuff up here that they do not. So the first, right, we talked about 3 dots means you could take action. You can always copy a link to the agreement. So if your client says, I don't know how to log in and see my stuff, you can send them a link directly to their agreement. If you want, you could download a PDF. And if you ever want to end the agreement, you can terminate it. Now, notice the big purple edit button. This is like the big excitement about Anchor. Okay, you can make changes to an agreement. So if you have a new service to add, you want to change a price, whatever it may be, update your terms and conditions. You don't have to send another agreement. They don't have to go through another approval process. You can come in and use the edit button and we take you in and you can see all of the different options you have and changes you can make. So let's say, for example, you want to do something to this service. So first of all, 3 dots. You can either edit the service, or if you decide you're done with this one, your client doesn't want this service anymore, you can click stop and we will stop charging for this service. Okay, it will be removed from the agreement. But if you want to come and make an edit, for example, we can click here and you can see quite a few things are available to change. You want to change something in the description, change the price. You're raising your prices to $5.50. You click save, and now it's going to be $5.50. You show over here, the price was changed, and it requires approval from your client. If you have a note to add and say, hey, you have an annual price change, you can go ahead and do just that. If you want to change the date you bill, that's an option. If you want to add new services, it works the same way as in a proposal. Go ahead and add your new services. And anything else you want to change over here, you have the option to do that. If you want to start adding, if you didn't have it before, to enable the auto amendment, you can do that. And if you want to change the days, you could do that. You just save changes and notify client. They will get an email from us letting them know. And now I had a 7-day auto approval set into the agreement. So your client will get an email now, halfway through and right before, and we'll remind them, hey, you have something to either approve or decline. If they don't do either, this will go into effect in 7 days. And it's that simple. Okay, so that's something really cool that you can do, and keep that in mind with the edit button. Now, we kept talking about unpausing a service or billing your client. This is where it's all going to happen, right here in the billing hub. So what you're seeing here is right down here, it's going to show you what's coming up in the next invoice. Okay, you can always see it. If you have something that's going to charge in the next invoice, you'll see it here. If there's nothing, it'll be blank. Your client can see this too. They can see what's coming up in the next one, but they can't do anything. You, however, you have the option to make some changes around here. So you have this billing control button, and this is where all the action happens. In this case, I'm going to actually choose an account that has a lot more activity. I'm going to switch for a second. Okay, billing hub, here we go. Now you can see there's a little bit more happening. In this case, you know what? I can remove something from an invoice if I don't want to charge it. I'm going to leave a nice clean canvas here. Okay, billing control again. We click here, and now you can see I added a whole bunch of different services to this agreement, right? So some of them are manual, which requires me to bill them. You could see over here. And this is my automatic service. This, I don't have to do a thing every month. It's going to charge the $800. And it's purple, which means it's active. If I wanted, I can come in and pause this at any time and say, I don't want to charge this right now. I'm not going to pause it for the month of, I'm not going to charge it for the month of March, and I can turn this off. And if I'm ever ready, I could just come back in, click on the toggle again, and turn it right back on. If you started a service on pause because you didn't want to charge it immediately, but you want to make sure you charge it for the upcoming months, again, you come into your billing hub, you come into your billing control. And if this was gray, you can just toggle it on until it's purple, and it'll start charging. It'll be active. Just make sure to do it ahead of the billing date. So in this case, the billing date is set to the 1st of April. I need to make sure this happens by the end of March. Now, everything else you're seeing here, there's a bill button. So if, for example, I want to charge for this monthly basic bookkeeping service, I'm going to click this bill button and this pops up. And I have the option to either add this to the upcoming invoice. I can say, I know I have an invoice that's going to be charged on the 1st of April. So I'm going to add this to that invoice. And I'm going to say, all right, I worked on 4 hours this month. I have 50 pre-approved. I worked 4 hours this month. The rate is 50 an hour. You could see it says total. If I have any notes to add, I could do that. I'm going to leave it blank. I click add to bill. And now you can see it's added as a line item right here. I'm charging for $200, and that's going to be added to the upcoming agreement. If I've completed my work and I would like to charge for it right now, I could just do that again. I can come here and click bill, and it will bill now. I'm going to put in 5 hours. I worked for 5 hours this, whatever it may be. I click bill now, and I've just created an invoice, and now your client's going to know they've just been invoiced, and they'll be able to see that. Okay, so this is where you're going to go to take action. I'll also point out that down here on the bottom, you have add charge and add credit. Add charge is useful if you have something you need to charge that's not in the scope of the agreement. So if, for example, your client asks you to do something extra that you haven't agreed on in the agreement itself, you can still charge them for it. You click the add charge. It works the same way. You can add it to an upcoming invoice, or you can bill now. You can find the service, put it in, or even add something new. Let's say it's an accounting assessment. I did one, I charged $500 for it, not offering a discount. And you could say, leave a note. You asked me to work on this additional thing. I'm charging you for it. That's what it's for. You can click add to bill, and it will go to the upcoming invoice again, or you can bill now. Just note that when you're doing an add charge, because it's outside the scope of the agreement, your client will have to approve it. Okay, they're going to get an email from us. They'll know that there's something waiting for them to approve. They have to approve it. Otherwise, it's not going to, we can't take the money out of their account until they approve it. Okay, so just note that about the add charge feature. And you also have an add credit. If you've overcharged a client, if they gave you a referral and you want to give them a little thank you token, just put in whatever it may be. It could be a referral thank you. You put in the total, leave a little note, and the credit will come off of the next invoice. So there's no immediate credits available, but you can come in and say, let's say, for example, the accounting assessment, you realize you overcharged them by $50. You didn't mean to. You can just say, I overcharged you. This is a $50 return, right? Whatever it may be. I'm going to click add credit, and you will see it again as a line item over here. So now you see the total is minus 50. And again, your client can see this. They'll see that there's going to be a minus 50 on their invoice. Okay, so lots of things you could do here in the billing hub. So keep that in mind. This is where all the action happens in terms of billing and invoicing. Now, you know what? I'll save payment methods first in just a second. Let's go over to invoices. Once you send out an invoice, the whole history between you and this account is going to be right here. So you can see, for example, this one was paid. It was deposited on the 15th. Great. This one, same thing, a month later, everything looks good. This one has been issued and we're waiting for pending initiation, right? So this is the status stat. Now, you may wonder what that means. You can hover over here and we'll give you an explanation of what that's about. These require client approval. This is exactly what we just looked at. So that means your client needs to, and we'll let you know, click inside. We'll give you a little notice. This invoice requires your client's approval. So we're not going to be able to charge this money or take that money out until your client approves it. On your client side, and we can go and take a look, they will have a button that says they need to approve. They'll see that. Now, other things to note. Okay, so as in all cases, we have our 3-dot menu. If something has already been paid, you're more limited. You can always copy a link to it. You can view the agreement that's associated with this charge. You could download the invoice and resend it for whatever reason. Okay. But in this case, because the client has not yet paid, you have quite a few more options. What, for example, this hasn't been paid yet, right? Your client's like, you know what? I don't know how to approve it. And they walk into your office with a check. And you're like, wait, but I have an invoice that's out already. What am I supposed to do? You can mark it as paid externally. Our system will then take that to mean it has been paid. We don't expect it to be paid on Anchor, and we'll stop bothering your client. We'll stop bothering you. You'll know. And everything is now, it's all balanced. We know it. If you're synced with QBO, which we're going to come to, it'll all be it'll all be evened out. You don't have to worry about a thing. If you're waiting for your client to approve it, you may want to resend the invoice, right? They might say, I don't know how I'm supposed to approve it. You could resend the invoice right from the system, or even copy a link, send them an email and say, please click the approve button. Here's the link to this very specific invoice. Something else you can do here is if payment hasn't started processing yet, you can also void an invoice. So if you're like, you know what, I don't need to charge this. This is a mistake. I'm just gonna void it. I don't need this to be paid. Yep, I'm good. I don't need to do that. Now it's done. There's no expectations. You can see right here it's voided and you're good. No, nothing has to get paid. So all of these different options are here. But just note, once you're inside, you can always see all of the details that are regarding the invoice itself. This is related to QBO mapping, QBO sync, which we're going to come to shortly. And just note down here, you could take action as well. Okay, so this is what it all looks like. One more thing you don't see here is if your client has a failed payment because they have insufficient funds, you will get one chance to retry the payment. Now, we warn you, reach out to your client first. Make sure they have the money in their account before you click that button, so you don't end up, asking for it again without enough money there. But you'll be able to retry that payment. If there's a failure for any other reason, the failure reason will be up here. So click inside. You'll see out here, you'll see that it failed. That there was a failed payment, and you'll be able to click inside, and we'll give you the failure reason right on top here. Okay, you'll get to see it. If you're needed to take action, if there's something that needs to happen, they may tell you to reach out to support, and someone on our side will be able to help you figure out what's wrong, maybe retry the payment for you, depending on what the situation is. So you can always reach out to us for help, and we'll help you sort out whatever the issue is. Okay. I also want to point out the activity log over here. Activity log is a full history of everything that's taken place in the account from the time you've sent off the agreement. So we go back here and the agreement was sent, and you could see when it was reviewed. You could see when a payment method was added. You could see when an invoice was sent. You could see when a change was made to the scope of the agreement. Basically, all of the history is here. Both sides, someone approves something, it shows. So there's full transparency. Nobody can say something happened, something didn't. You have equal viewing of this. And just so full history, full transparency, certainly helpful for both of you. And if you're not sure about what happened in the account, I always recommend you come in here. If you want to understand, did I send an invoice? I don't remember. Come and take a look. If you want to see if your client approved it, all of it is available for you to see over here. Now, what I skipped before was the payment methods. Right now, on your side, if you do not have what we call accountant access, you will just see the payment method that they have. So you know that they have a bank account connected that ends in 6789. That's all you know. However, you can log in as their accountant if you have client access, which I'm going to do right now. And the view is slightly different. Now you're going to see things from your client's perspective. So now what you're actually looking at, this is the portal that your clients have. This is what they see when they log into Anchor. They have the agreements, any new proposals, they get to see their invoices, and they have some settings like you do, all available here. We're going to look at the agreement. They click inside just like you would, and they have the agreement. They have their billing hub, just like I said, right? They have fewer actions they can take over here. Now notice their invoices has a 1, and there's something pending their approval. When they click it, now this is a test account here, they would be able to click approve the payment. Okay, so that's all it takes on their side. From the payment method side, you could see they have the option to add another payment method. Now, something else you could be doing here, some clients will use what we call the micro deposit process to connect their bank account. They can either connect it by putting in their bank username and password, or just their accounting and routing numbers. And if they do that, they'll get a very small deposit in their bank account. It'll come with a little code. They just have to come in and put the code in. And that's what we call verifying the micro deposit. And when they have to do that, they have to do it here in this page. You would be able to do it for them with Accountant Access. Just note that's something else you can do from the payment methods page. So you didn't see this option when you were looking on your side. On their side, you can add another payment method for them. It's the exact same process as adding a first. They would click here, decide between ACH and a credit card, click the connect account. We do everything through Plaid. They connect, it gets added, and then they'll have a box for each of their accounts. You click on the 3 dots and select which account you want to be the connected one, and that's it. Okay, so pretty simple stuff. Just deciding which of the accounts you have. You can have 20 different payment methods in here if you want. You just select each time which one you want to be connected. And when you go back to your side, you'll only see the one that's connected, not the full history. And just to note, when you go back to My Business, you must click up here. You can't use the back button. You go back and you go back to your own account. So you could do this for any of your clients. When you get to the agreement page, just by clicking right from here, you can go to their own client portals, each client portal. Okay, so that's what happens here in the agreements. And now that we've gotten here, I think we can look at some of the other features. So the next thing we have here is billing. This just helps you go to the billing hub, like we saw before, to any client. So you just do a search. I'm looking for Lasso Academy. And now I'm in Lasso Academy's billing hub, so I can go to the billing control and do what I need over here. Okay, so just a quicker way to get to all of your different clients' billing hubs instead of going to the agreement and clicking and looking. Invoices will give you a history of all of your invoices for all of your accounts. Okay, so you have invoices individually when you go into an agreement, and then you have the full history of invoices. And again, you have all of these different options to filter, find your payments that haven't been set yet, right? So if a client doesn't have a payment method set, important to have that information. We're not going to be able to charge them. Make sure you go into those clients and you can say, hey, you want to send them a link. Listen, I need you to connect their payment method. That's going to be important for you to know. Okay. Again, we have syncing. That's going to be a QBO thing that we're coming to momentarily, and all of the information you need to see. So again, you can click inside, get what you need from that invoice. You can see it all here. And look, you have a button to request the payment method as well. Okay. Then we have payouts. When you get paid, it's going to show you the date you got it, how much you got paid, and how many invoices came into that payout. In this case, there's only one. Here's a big one. It's got a few. You can see all of the invoices that went towards that payout. Again, you notice that we have the syncing here. Payouts can sync as well, and this will all get pushed into QBO. Everything will be reconciled. You won't have to do anything in QBO, but we want to make sure that everything is synced. Now, this says pending sync. It's gray. It's not syncing, so it's not going to sync with QBO. This one looks good. We're going to show you how to make sure this is all taken care of. Contacts and services, we covered that the first time. Now we get to the settings, and this is where you're going to be able to see all of the QBO stuff. So first, when we click on settings, you have business details. Any changes you need to make, you could do that over here. If you'd like to add a team member, go ahead and invite a new one. You can set their role. You can change a team member's role. You can remove someone from a team. And here is our integrations. So there's 2 different integrations we have available at the moment. QuickBooks, which we've been talking about. And I also want to point out that we have Zapier here. We have a lot of different Zaps. Our Help Center has a page that explains all of the different Zaps that you can create. But basically, you can make the workflow work for you if you have Zaps, where a lot of things that happen in Anchor can go into your Slack. You can get an email each time something happens. However you prefer to work, you can kind of make it happen by integrating with Zapier. So definitely check that out. And for QuickBooks, I've already connected mine. So I'm going to manage my connection, but it's the same button. All you'll need to do to get set up is choose the 3 bank accounts that connect. You have one for deposited funds, your merchant fees, and your collected funds. And you just choose whichever account you would like to connect it to. I definitely recommend that you sync invoices automatically. That way you don't have to manually come and make sure everything is synced. Definitely click on this toggle. And then all you need to do is map your contacts and map your services. And this is a very important step because once everything here is set up, you won't need to manually do anything. You'll see everything integrated naturally. So let's click Map Contacts. and you'll see exactly what this looks like. So what we're doing is if we see an email that looks exactly the same as the one you have in QBO, we will map it for you. I'm trying to see if we have any over here. We have a lot of contacts. If we don't have it, all you need to do is search, and we're looking for, Delfonso. We'll see, do we have Delfonso in QBO? If you do, you'd be able to add them and map it just like that. You click on their name. In this case, maybe you don't have them in QBO. You only added them on Anchor. You can push as a new client, and it's going to get pushed into QBO. And now you've created that contact on QBO. And this is going to show as mapped. So you could just do a quick search, go through everything. You can either look for Summit and see if they're there. Now, this is a demo account, so not everything is properly set up. You can search for Adam and see if you have Adam. And all you have to do, it takes really just minutes to do it, and then you're done. Everything will be mapped, and that's it. Okay? And similar for services. You're going to have any service that you have on Anchor. You click Map Services, it basically looks the same. So any services that you've added on Anchor, you'll be able to map to whatever you have in QBO. So again, once those things are mapped, we'll be able to sync everything to QBO. Just to show you briefly, the Map Services looks like this, and all you'd have to do is similar thing, just do a search, map it. It takes a second to map each one. Once that's done, everything will be mapped, and you won't have to go, like we saw before, into an invoice. Let's find one, for example, here that this is not. You see how it says Map Services? The reason it's not synced is because the service isn't mapped. So anything that's like this, if you haven't mapped it before this invoice went out, you will need to manually map anything from the past. All you need to do is, let's just pretend this is mapped. Okay. These are the things. Great. You see they do map. I close it, I sync it, and then it'll sync. So the next time I look, this invoice will be synced. And that's all you need to do for anything in the past. Here we go. Now that's done. And it turns green. But for anything moving forward, once you have everything synced, you won't have to do anything. I do want to point out down here, you have a refer and earn. I think we talked about this before. If you ever want to recommend Anchor to somebody, which we obviously appreciate, we want to show our appreciation. We want you to know that we're thankful for that, and we want to give you credit for it. So anytime you send this off to a friend, a colleague, whoever it may be, and they open their own Anchor account, once they get their first invoice paid, you'll both get $50 in Anchor credit. So basically 10 of your invoices will kind of be, or 10 of the payments will be free. You won't have to pay. And you could do this as many times as you want. So if you refer us 10 times, you'll get paid 10 times. You'll get that $50. So definitely if you're, appreciating Anchor and you want to share it with someone, we want to say thank you. So keep that in mind. Just copy the link or share the link with someone, and then we'll automatically be able to track it all. Lastly, we have here the dashboard page. So we talked about this before. I know we kind of touched on this. Now I think that you understand what everything is, and it'll all make sense. So I always recommend that you come to the dashboard page and get an understanding of where things stand, where you need to take action. So for example, now let's look at the agreements pipeline again. So we know that 2 proposals have been sent and not looked at. 2 have been reviewed, but not completed. 1, they connected their payment method. There's one more step for them. They just need to click that approve, but they haven't done it. And so always important for you to know where things stand. And over here, you have 3 agreements that don't even have a payment method connected. You want to make sure you get paid. So look over there. Again, you can click on the 3. We'll take you to the list of those 3. And you could just, you know what to do. You click here, bulk actions, request that payment method. We're letting you know we're going to send it to your clients. And you send that request out, they're going to get an email asking them to connect their payment method. Okay. Now that we know a little bit about invoices, again, we're going to give you an understanding of, do you need to take any action? Were there any failed payments? Are there any with missing payment methods? So here, for example, you see expected to be paid. You can expect $11,000 to be coming into your account. That's you see the number 7 invoices are going to total up to 11,000. Here, there are 36 invoices that require your attention. In this case, there are 20 different invoices that require client approval. Here they are. Ask your client, reach out to your client, click inside, ask them to connect their, to do the approval, send out the link, whatever you need to do. Make sure your clients are approving the invoices that are requiring it, or you're not going to get paid whatever that new charge is. Over here, again, there are 15 that are missing payment method. We need to make sure your clients connect their payment method so you can get paid. So we're going to lay out if there's ever anything that requires any action from you so you know what you need to do to get yourself paid. And finally, down here, this is the expected earnings. Basically, it's a map, not a map, it's a guide for the months. We're going to let you know if you have any money coming to you or if any already arrived. So here, for example, you could see on the 4th, if I hover over, there was about $11,000 deposited into your bank account. It's green, so it's already been paid. A little bit more came a few days later. Today, you could expect 245 to arrive. It's small, but there's actually in purple. That means it's coming. In 2 days, I can expect $250 to hit my bank account. So basically, it kind of takes the mystery out of when am I seeing this money? I know I have money coming to me. When am I getting it? When will it be arriving? And so you can always come and look down here to see when you can expect that money to hit your bank account. So again, dashboard page is going to be super helpful for you, give you a little bit of guidance, help you understand what you need to do, what's important for you to see. I will point out that if you ever want to add charge to a few accounts or any account, you can click down here and all you do is just choose which account you'd like to add it to. So again, just a quicker way, instead of going into their account, into their billing hub, into the billing control, just come here, choose the client and say, yeah, great company. The billing date's going to be to the next invoice, and I want to do this. And it's just that add charge feature we saw before. It's just a universal one down here, so it's quicker for you to take action. I'll also point out here our little support icon. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our support channel. And up here, you can ask support, go to our help center. You can join our Facebook community, all of these different things. What's new will highlight what new features came out for the month. So lots more information for you to see. And one more thing to note, if you have multiple businesses with us and you're using the same email, you'll be able to click down here, switch between. If you also have a client account, if you're also someone else is using using Anchor and you're their client, you'll also be able to switch between accounts here. So just note that. And I think we've covered everything. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.